Hello, everyone. My name is Micah Smith, and I'm a reporter and anchor with Denver 7, and welcome to Denver Decides. Denver Decides is a community partnership dedicated to accessible and transparent elections. The partnership includes the League of Women Voters of Denver and Inter-Neighborhood Cooperation and is presented by Denver 8 TV. We're coming to you today from the Hydro Confluence Theater at the CSU Spur. We'd like to thank the management and staff here for hosting this event. The CSU Spur is a new Denver destination with something for every learner. It's free and open to the public year-round, so come and visit. Today, we are presenting a candidate forum in anticipation of the municipal election coming up on Tuesday, April 4th. Among other offices, and as they say at the top of the ticket in this election includes the candidates vying to represent the city of Denver as mayor. Some have said that the Denver mayor is the strongest elected position in the state. The mayor sets the budget, makes more than 700 appointments, is the boss of Denver International Airport, the police department, the sheriff's department, the Department of Public Safety, and more than 11,000 city employees. It is a crowded race this year, as is the theater here at the Hydro Building on the CSU Spur campus, as you can see. Our format includes timed opening and closing statements, and in between there will be questions that have been submitted by the organizers of this forum. And all of the responses will be timed. Our timer monitors are out front where the candidates can see them. So let's begin by meeting the candidates vying to represent the city of Denver as your next mayor. The candidates are seated left to right in 2 rows facing the audience in the order that their names will appear on the April 4th ballot. I will introduce them and they will stand so you may get a good look at them. And candidates, please stay standing until all the candidates are introduced. Audience, we ask that you please hold your applause until all are introduced as well. So we start with Lisa Calderon. Trinidad Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez would have been next, but as his name is next on the ballot, but he was diagnosed with COVID yesterday and can't attend this forum. However, I will be reading a statement from Trinidad during this forum. So let's continue then with Aurelio Martinez. Thomas Wolf. Al Gardner. Terrence Roberts. Kwame Spearman. Renata Behrens, Chris Hansen, Mike Johnston, James Walsh, Ian Tafoya. And moving now to the front row, but still in ballot order, is Andy Rougeau, Leslie Herod, Robert Tretta, Debbie Ortega, Kelly Bruff, Abbas Yaya Bamba, Matt Brady, and Jesse LaShawn Paris. Now let's welcome all the candidates to this forum. Candidates, you may be seated. And please note that candidates Abbas Yaya Bamba, Matt Brady, and Jesse LaShawn Paris' names will not appear on the printed ballot you receive. Even though they did not qualify with signatures, they have decided to pursue the office of Mayor of Denver, and our partners have decided that they should be a part of this forum. So they are running as write-in candidates. If you want to vote for one of these candidates, you will need to write their name in the space provided on your ballot. Now, before we dive in, I have some choreography notes for the candidates, if you will. When you're called upon for a response during the forum, please go to the nearest lectern to where you are seated. We will begin with 45-second opening statements from each candidate. We'll proceed in ballot order with these statements, so let's get started with Lisa Calderon.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lisa Calderon, and I'm running to be your next mayor. In 2019, I ran and came in 3rd, but it was after trying to get other community and political leaders to run, and no one would. So I stepped up, and that's what leaders do. We step up when it's not convenient. The fact that our housing crisis was happening back then, our homeless crisis was happening back then, and yet we couldn't get our political leaders to do what was right. Right now, tonight, we are actually in the Globeville, Elyria, Swansea neighborhoods where there are tremendous land use issues going on, including issues of the environment. So I am looking to be your next mayor. Please check out my platform at lisafordenver.com. Thank you.
And I will now read an opening statement from Trinidad Rodriguez. I was born and raised in West Denver by a single mom. Growing up, we confronted housing insecurity, addiction, violence, and mental health struggles. But this city helped us through the tough times, and I wanted to pay it forward. I spent the last 25 years working in finance and volunteering with local nonprofits and civic groups, securing funding for schools, health clinics, and affordable housing communities that serve tens of thousands of Denver's families. This is really what sets me apart. The mayor is the chief executive of our city, leading almost 13,000 employees and a $3 to $4 billion budget. I'm a public finance expert. I have demonstrated through my career and service that I have the leadership and management experience necessary for this job. We can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. It's time for my vision to build a city where every Denverite, regardless of their neighborhood, can achieve their version of success. Next, the opening statement from Thomas Wolf. Oh, I'm sorry, a correction there. Aurelio Martinez. I apologize.
Hello, I'm Aurelio Martinez, and I'm asking for your vote on April 4th. The challenges facing our city are numerous, and that's the reason I'm running. And the reason I'm running is simple. I watched in admiration as mayors Federico and Wellington guided our city through the challenges we faced as a city. Now, after the last 12 years of failed leadership, we are now facing a slowed economy. The downtown has become a Mad Max Thunderdome, youth violence and housing crisis caused by outrageous rents. The reason I can fix this broken city is simple. I am not the status quo. It's no wonder we have the thousands of unhoused people living in our streets. The difference is hope and hopelessness. I refuse to give up or give in. Together, we will once again rebuild Denver into a city we can be proud of.
Next, the opening statement from Thomas Wolf.
Good evening, Denver. I'd ask you for your vote, but I more like plead or beg or beseech you for it so that we can end encampments. Encampments are a humanitarian crisis. This is a crisis that's gone on for 3 years and is compounding. The other thing you might not realize about encampments, they are fiscal suicide. They are impacting both DPS's budget and my city budget. I've been a corporate finance person my whole career. I have complete understanding of the budget and know what to prioritize. The job as your mayor is really kind of a CEO. It would be akin to that in the business world. And the first job as CEO is to be a fiduciary and protect the assets of the city. Encampments are gravely impacting our assets and what we're going to be able to do with the budget. I ask for your vote to cure that. Thank you.
Next, we have an opening statement from Al Gardner.
Thank you. Good evening. I don't know everyone in this room, but time is the one thing that ties us all together. It doesn't matter where we're from, how we look, what our name is, but one thing we all have in common is time. The one thing we cannot waste anymore in this city is exactly that. The second thing that we cannot give up on is hope on the people that live here. And that's not criminalizing those who are seeking to do better for themselves. As we look and you search your heart in terms of where we need to go as a city, consider the time, what we've done with it, and consider your neighbors and how we're going to make it a better place for all of us. Thank you.
And with his opening statement is Terrence Roberts.
Good evening, everybody. I'm running for Denver mayor because I feel like we need more leadership around our pressing issues in the city of Denver, which are housing and the crime that is coming from the poverty that our housing issue is creating. We just had a young man that passed away from being shot in his head yesterday in the parking lot of East High School. East High School just had a shooting a couple of months before that. We need rent controls as soon as Governor Polis signs it into state law. We need it at a municipal level. The mayor's job is to present a budget to city council that represents all levels of income, especially people who really need our mayor's office to do the right thing. I don't see my timer. Is it off? Okay. So technical glitch. Oh, free 43 seconds. So please vote for Terrence Roberts if we want to see tangible change in the city. Terrence Roberts for mayor.com. We can do better in this city. Our general fund is almost $1.5 billion. That is the money that we can depend on. We cannot use it for public housing. We need more public housing and a public banking system. A public banking system will bring more money to our infrastructure. It will democratize our banking services for our unhoused neighbors, and we can pay for retrofitted or newly built public housing. Nobody is moving from a tent on Colfax and Broadway into affordable housing. Affordable housing is owned by billionaire developers. Public social housing is owned by everybody sitting in this room if you are a taxpayer in Denver, Colorado. I know I got a little bit of extra time. I'm going to concede some of it, but thank you very much. Terrence Roberts for mayor.com.
Next is Kwame Spearman.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kwame Spearman, and I'm honored to be here during Women's History Month. Not only am I a proud Denver native, I'm also a proud mama's boy. Currently, I'm the CEO and co-owner of Tattered Cover, Denver's neighborhood bookstore, and I'm so excited to become your neighborhood mayor. Tonight, when you're listening to all the candidates, I want you to think a little bit about your neighborhood and all the things you love about your neighborhood. But I also want to ask you a question. Do you think your neighborhood is headed in the right direction or the wrong direction? I believe if we work together, going into our neighborhoods and listening to our residents, we can solve Denver's toughest issues around homelessness, safety, and affordability. Because fundamentally, I believe that your neighborhood makes our city.
And next up is Renata Behrens with her opening statement.
Good evening. I'm Renata Behrens, and I am your future mayor. I think so anyway. I think many things have to be done, have to be improved, have to be replaced, have to be newly developed. It's always that way. I want to be your mayor because I like to care. I care for the most vulnerable people that are on the road, and I want to help them. And I want to help us, ourselves, because of the air pollution that is not good for all of us. And I'm interested in road construction because our roads are terrible and we are the greatest pothole country of the earth. Thank you.
And now an opening statement from Chris Hansen.
Good evening. I'm State Senator Chris Hansen, and I'm running to be Denver's next mayor because I believe we need to build a city that works, a safer, more affordable, and greener Denver. But right now, like many of you, I'm feeling frustrated that Denver is not living up to its full potential. As the only candidate on this stage who has been responsible and has to be accountable to both shareholders and voters, I have the experience to deliver the results that Denver expects. I've been doing that on your behalf as a leader in the Joint Budget Committee at the state capitol. This is the moment for Denver to reinvest, and we need to have a laser focus on rebuilding public safety and addressing the homelessness crisis. I plan to do that as your next mayor, and that's why I'm asking for your support.
And that brings us to Mike Johnston.
Thank you so much. How many of us have had the experience like the one I had this morning, where you're walking with your kids downtown, holding their hand, and you come around the corner and you happen upon someone who's sleeping on the street, or folks who are huddled in an encampment in the cold, and you see your kid look up at you with big eyes as if to say, why are we letting this happen? And for me, the answer is we don't have to let this happen. No one has to be homeless in Denver. We have a moral obligation to make sure people have access to housing, and we know what it takes to actually solve this problem. That's why I'm running for mayor. I'm committed to make sure we solve this problem, that we get back a city that we're going to be proud of, and a city that our kids will be proud that we built. I'm Mike Johnston, and I'd love to have your support.
Now an opening statement from James Walsh.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Walsh, and I'm running for mayor to make Denver the most worker-friendly city in the United States. I'm also running because I think we need an educator in the mayor's office. I've been a professor at CU Denver for the past 25 years, teaching labor, immigration, and social movements. I'm also running because I think a true grassroots campaign can work in the 21st century. My entire campaign is run by students. Some of them are sitting here with us today. And so we don't have the kind of seasoned professional organization that many of the campaigns here today do have, but we believe we can still win. I'm running because I believe we have a massive wealth gap, not only in Denver, but nationally, that needs to be addressed directly by getting resources directly into the hands of those who most need them.
Ian Tafoya with his opening statement.
Hello, my name is Ian Thomas Tafoya, and I want to say thank you so much to the Denver Inter-Neighborhood Cooperation for helping put this on with the League of Women Voters. I've been a leader with the Denver Inter-Neighborhood Cooperation as a zoning and planning chair for almost 6 years, involved in all the land use decisions that were going on in the city. I went to my first INC meeting when I was 22 years old because I found them at a Parks Board meeting. They came and picked me up because I didn't own a car, and it was right here in Global area Swansea. Our motto, neighborhoods work best when neighbors work together. One of my core issues, regional cooperation, is so important because our region works best when our city works together. It's interesting that we're here in Gloveville once again as my careers move forward. From my mother's front yard, you can see the Cherokee gas plant. I've spent my entire career, both as a teacher, working for 3 branches of local government, and now as the state director of Green Latinos, taking on the largest polluters and the largest development problems in our city and county of Denver and across the city line. Suncor, Excel Energy, and upgrading the Platte River are part of my record. Find out more at tafoyafordenver.com.
And now an opening statement from Andy Rougeau.
My name is Andy Rougeau, and I'm running for mayor to fight for Denver's future because I love this city. I think it's the greatest city in the country. It's the city where I settled down after I got out of the Army. It's a city where I built a business, a city where I'm raising a family. I've got 2 little girls, a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old. And the opportunity to build that business, to settle down, put down roots, is being taken away from the next generation. It's being taken away by the failure of the mayor and the city council. Crime is out of control in our city. We've seen almost a tripling of murders in the past 10 years. We are the car theft capital of the country. That's unacceptable. As mayor, I'll add 400 police officers. I'll increase funding for police. I'll make sure our 911 system works. Homelessness is out of control in our city. We've seen almost a doubling of unsheltered homeless. I'll enforce the camping ban to get the homeless into the mental health and drug addiction service they need. Finally, I'll make the city affordable for blue-collar workers, young families, and first-time homebuyers. My name is Andy Rougeau. I'm running for mayor to fight for Denver's future, and I want your support in April. Thank you.
Now Leslie Herod with her opening statement.
Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. It doesn't matter your race, who you love, your income, your national origin, or even your zip code. Our differences are what makes us stronger. We all belong right here in this city. But for too long, too many special interests have been running the city. As your next mayor, I promise to put people first, people over politics every single time. I know together we can tackle Denver's toughest issues like affordable housing, homelessness, and community safety. And we can do it with common sense solutions that, yes, are difficult, but we know that we can roll up our sleeves and get it done. Today in Denver, we need 50,000 more units of housing. We need to tackle our homelessness crisis head on, and we need to make sure that every neighborhood is safe. I'm Leslie Herod. I'm running to be your next mayor, and together, I know we can change Denver for the better.
Now we have Robert Treda with his opening statement.
Hi, guys. I started my own business 27 years ago as a builder. I've seen a lot go on in this city. I've seen building permits go from a one-day process to 12 months. It's completely unacceptable. If you look at our biggest challenges in Denver, you look at the homeless situation downtown, just back up the train a little bit, you'll arrive at affordable housing. I've been complaining about affordable housing for 15 years. building permits taking entirely too long, Airbnbs not being regulated by the city for 6 years, taking tons of inventory off the market, driving rent prices up. I know how to fix the problems. I've been in the building industry for 27 years. Don't hire a politician to fix it, hire a builder. Thank you.
That brings us to Debbie Ortega for her opening statement.
Good evening. I'm Deborah Ortega, and I'm here to ask for your support. I want to thank CSU for hosting this, League of Women Voters, Channel 8, and INC for coming up with questions and helping to co-sponsor as well. I have served as a leader in this city for the last 30 years, and I believe now more than ever, experience in how this city works, knowing and understanding how to get things done is so critical because of the kinds of issues that we are faced with. I have worked on big and small projects. I think it's important to know how they work and to have a working relationship with City Council. And I will do that and make sure that together we're going to make this happen. I'm Debbie Ortega. Go to my website. I ask for your support.
Kelly Bruff, it's time for your opening statement.
Hi, I'm Kelly Bruff, and like so many families in Denver, mine has really faced challenges. And the truth is, for a long time, I felt shame about my own life story, but now I just see my family's strength. I lost my father to violent crime. My family received government assistance when I was a kid to put a roof over our head and keep food on the table. And my girls and I lost their dad to addiction and suicide. These are the various issues the next mayor must be prepared to address. And to do so, it needs to be someone who's run large and complex organizations, and I have. I was CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, Chief of Staff for John Hickenlooper when he was mayor. I've been the head of HR for the city, even served as a legislative analyst for all 13 members of the Denver City Council. I know on day one I could hit the ground running. I'd love to have your support.
Now with his opening statement is Abbas Yahya Bamba.
I'm Dr. Bamba. I'm running for mayor. I'm a write-in candidate, the people candidate, the person you're going to write the name in to be mayor. I'm here to put a price cap on rent, to put a price cap on food, to reduce the property taxes. I know I came from somewhere and Denver welcomed me. I know how the city looked like when I came here. I know how the city looked like today. I have the solution, and I will put that solution at work. I'm a scientist. I'm not a political marketer. I'm a pragmatist. I'm not progressist. I'm not conservative. I will do the job the way you want. I will be at your disposal. You can knock my door at midnight. I will wake up. Thank you.
Next up is Matt Brady. Your opening statement, please.
Thank you. I have 7 decades of experience and a member of the Denver 150 honorees. Civic Work started in 1952 fundraising for the March of Dimes. Our sidewalks are a major public safety issue. I plan to move up the funding and repair replacement voted by the vote from 9 to 5 years to get the job done. I can now join a crew to physically do the work. I have operated a jackhammer, a ground thumper, tested for soil compaction, set up forms, put in reinforcements, poured and finished concrete. I will hold Denver contractors to do quality work. That has always been the case. I plan to serve 1 term to make changes. The other candidates who will be at my level of fitness at my age have several years to several decades to take their turn as mayor. Take a number and wait your turn.
Right. I would now like to mention that Paul Fiorino, who would have been next, is not in attendance. However, he was invited to participate. Paul Fiorino is a write-in candidate. So last but certainly not least, Jesse LaShawn Paris with your opening statement.
Yes, good evening, CSU and everybody that's in attendance tonight. My name is Jesse LaShawn Paris, and I'm representing for Black Star Action Movement for Self-Defense, Positive Action Committee for Social Change, as well as the Unity Party of Colorado, Frontline Black News, and Sabaka's Black Experience Enhanced, and I will still be the next mayor of Denver in 2023. The reason why I'm running to be the mayor is because we need people with lived experience with these issues that all these candidates are talking about. Well, as a member of one of the founding members of Denver Homeless Out Loud, I've been at the forefront of our unhoused neighbor crisis. Unhoused neighbors, that's my term, I came up with it. Right in, a real revolutionary, real tangible change will come from a Paris administration. JustyDenverMayor.com. Thank you.
And that brings us to round one, our questions. When we put our format together, we determined that we did not want to hear all the candidates answering the same question. So we'll have a few rounds of questions in which each candidate will get their own question, and they will have 45 seconds to answer. In each round, candidates chosen to answer a question were determined completely at random. So let's begin. Mike Johnston, you're up first. All right, Mike. How do you plan to involve and engage the community in decision-making processes?
Thank you. Yeah, I think one of the most important questions is how you make sure that everybody in Denver feels heard. I had the chance, I started my career as a teacher and a school principal, was the principal of 3 different high schools, but when I was first elected to the state senate, I served Northeast Denver for 8 years, and one of the first things I did was open a community office in Northeast Denver as a way to make sure residents could get regular and easy access to me. We also started what we call the Citizens Cabinet, which was a cabinet of advisors that were community members who had experience or lived experience in those topics. So if you had a background with trying to start a small business, or you had a background with criminal justice, you're either a victim of crime or you've been through the correctional facilities, you had a chance to have your voice involved in what policies we built and how we passed them. So I would want to be open and available in that way, where community members know how to find me, where to find me, and they can give us ideas on how to solve the problems that are most important to them.
Debbie Ortega, you're up next.
Same question?
You have a different question. All right. What will you pursue as mayor? Policies, investments, or programs that will address the impacts climate change have on Denverites and our environment?
So one of the first issues I want to do is make sure that we address the issue of train safety. I don't know if you, driving in here, saw some of the trains parked right here. We have freight corridors throughout our city where you saw the incident that happened in East Palestine, Ohio. I've been working on this since 2014, making sure that as we are having development come in next to rail, that we are addressing the life safety of the people who will be living in those buildings or working in those buildings. And to address the land use piece is what we have the responsibility of. We have no oversight of the railroads, and I think this is one that's going to be really important to protect our communities and the people that live in those.
Kwame Spearman, this next question is for you. How do you plan to involve and engage the community in decision-making processes?
I think that this is the perfect question for me because I'm hoping to be your neighborhood mayor. Fundamentally, what I've seen in our city is that we are taking our problems with a one-size-fits-all solution. And that's not working. What we've got to do is actually go into our neighborhoods. We've got to listen to our residents. We've got to have more forums like this where we come together and we can engage on key topics. For me, it would be homelessness, it would be safety, and it would be affordability. And through those conversations, we can actually create goals for the city. Those goals allow us to have accountability. And one of the things that we can do with those goals is we can post them so you can see how we're tracking against our performance. And hopefully you'll also be able to see it because we're going to be making the improvements that are needed to your neighborhood. Thank you.
Next up is Abbas Yayabamba. And here is your question. What is your strategy for protecting existing and supporting new small businesses to thrive in Denver as retail costs such as rent, materials, and staff rise?
Fantastic. That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about putting a cap on rent. Rent is not only for housing where people sleep. It's also for office. It's also, the city has a program. People are now well educated about those programs. How to get a loan as a small business. How to navigate through all the paperwork to get that loan. So basically, small business owner will be involved from day one to the management of administration. They will have a committee. I will show them how to get that money to support themselves, because I'm a small business owner. Thank you.
Andy Rougeau, a question for you. How would you, as the mayor, help create a citywide culture that will lead to accomplishing the 100% carbon neutral goal in 2040?
So my experience as an Army officer and as a small business owner has taught me accountability. When I was deployed to Afghanistan, we were protecting Kabul from large suicide bomb attacks. We knew if we succeeded or failed. We owned that decision. As a small business owner, I had to make payroll every 2 weeks. I own that decision. And our mayor and our city council have failed our city. They've failed to take accountability. They've failed to take accountability in our climate goals. As mayor, I will make sure that we're meeting those goals. I will own those goals. I'll make sure we're a clean energy hub for the United States. My name is Andy Rougeau. I'm running for mayor to fight for Denver's future, and I love your support. Thank you.
Thomas Wolf, here is a question for you from our forum organizers. Do you believe that preserving strong public neighborhood schools in each of our communities is important to the future viability and strength of our neighborhoods?
Obviously, yes. As I stated before, it all starts with budget. If we don't end encampments, the property tax or the commercial property value we're seeing depleted in our central business district, which drives 50% of their budget, will continue to go away. There's some obvious synergies that you see in the business sector where, with regards to their plant that we could get synergies in procurement and maintenance, but as far as curriculum and the operation, that'd be too many chefs in the kitchen. I would leave it to the school board. Thank you.
And now a question for James Walsh. Do you support reworking the neighborhood planning initiative process to allow for greater input from residents at the planning and approval stages of neighborhood development initiatives?
Absolutely. I'm all for as much community input as possible on all decisions. So I would include neighborhood associations. I would include all of the social justice, amazing organizations in this city, all the collectivist efforts that are happening, and open up as many doors as I could to include all of the voices as possible.
Now we move to round two. We'll get back to questions in a moment, but we are moving to our lightning round. So our candidates will be asked to answer several quick questions simply by raising their hand to indicate a yes, no, or pass answer. Candidates, you may remain seated for this round. So we'll go to our first question here. Should there be bike lanes on all streets? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. Next question. Do you support the reduction of regulations for social marijuana clubs? Hands up for yes. Sorry. Do you support the reduction of regulations for social marijuana clubs? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. Okay. Do you think that Suncor should be restricted from doing business in Colorado due to their continuing air quality violations? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. Do you own an electric bike or vehicle? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. Do you own season tickets to any of Denver's major sports teams? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. Do you support the ballot issue on the Park Hill Golf Course property? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. Okay. In the last 30 days, have you used mass transit, a bike, or walked for business purposes or to get to work? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. All right, thank you. We will now move to round 3 with more questions. And here our next questions are submitted by the forum organizers. Like the previous round, candidates chosen to answer a question were determined completely at random, and each candidate will have 45 seconds to answer. So let's begin. Robert Treda, you're up first. What opportunities present themselves with the renewal of the XL franchise agreement in 2026?
Oh, wow, that's a tough one for me. I would have to look at that more closely. And it is a big concern right now because of the prices of natural gas and electricity linked to natural gas. So I'm not in the circles of the no on that one. So I would have to look at that more closely and get back to you on it. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Terrence Roberts, you're up next. Please describe the process you will use to select your appointees if you are elected mayor.
Of course, I have to have a face-to-face with them. We'll vet them properly. Some people who are in this current administration are going to keep their jobs if they're good at it. Some people will get replaced. But we will do a national search. We will do a local search. I would really like to find people who are local to fill these positions because they live in the city, they know the city. But if somebody can fill the position in New York City or Los Angeles or Texas, then that's who we'll hire. Whoever has the best experience, whoever can help get our homeless people off of the streets, whoever can help us bring more better community policing so our police don't have to respond, so we can make sure a crime doesn't happen beforehand, then that's what we're going to bring to the city of Denver. I'm really looking at, I'm not just saying this, we have some wonderful women running for mayor, but we do need a lot of women, and I do support women leading. I just know that I will be the best mayor. Terrence Roberts from mayor.com.
Lisa Calderon, the next question is for you. How will you lead and manage our siloed and unwieldy city agencies to move in the same direction to solve systemic issues like the climate crisis that affect everything?
Well, first off, I just want to share some great news. I've just learned that our campaign is tied for first place, so super thrilled about that. And I think it has a lot to do with how our progressive message of how we bring people together. So my first point of business would be hearing from city workers. They know what is working in our city and what is broken in our city. I support unionizing city workers and giving them much more of a say than they've had. They've been demoralized from the Hickenlooper to Hancock years. We have the solutions in our community. And so I would also share power with our community members and our council and not rely on our strong mayoral system, which is from the Klan years.
Next up is Jessie LaShawn Paris. We have a question for you. What is your vision for the city's future, and how do you plan to achieve it?
Okay, thank you for the question. My vision for the city is a city that actually has empathy, sympathy, and compassion for those that are suffering most in the city. Whatever you do for the least of these, that's what you do for, your Savior, right? So I would like to have a city that was compassionate, that wouldn't just step over somebody that was unhoused on the streets, that would actually lift people up instead of putting them down. Put yourself in that person's shoes. So and the way to go about that is by auditing these service providers, making sure that the money is actually going toward helping those that actually need the services. I'm a client of CCH. I'm not getting the help I need. And the people in my building where I live, the Fusion Studios, they're not getting the help they need either. So we can do better, and under a Paris administration, we will do better. Thank you.
Chris Hansen, it is your turn. Please describe any ideas to improve and/or speed up the processes for approving building or zoning permits.
Great, Micah, thank you. Really important question for Denver right now. We are falling behind in large part because the permitting office of the city is not getting the job done in a timely way. I'm hearing stories about 24, 36-month delays. So we need to immediately address the backlog. I think we could use some private contractors to help with that. We can also digitize some of the more simple processes like a garage replacement so that those projects can get done more quickly. We also need to have a dedicated team that's going to be looking at just the affordable, high priority projects in the city. And finally, we have to bring the very best leadership and the very best management to this office because it is so important for everything else we're doing in the city to catch up on the huge shortage that we have to drive down prices for housing. We have to catch up, and the permitting office has to be a big part of that solution. We've fallen behind in Denver, and I know as your next mayor, I can catch up.
Kelly Bruff, the next question is for you. Please describe any administrative and budgetary experience that you have had and how that will transfer if you are elected mayor.
Sure. I've had a few experiences. I've directed an internationally recognized leadership program. I was responsible not only for the budget there, but hiring the staff and managing expenses. Maybe more relevant or bigger, I managed the chamber and all of its affiliates as the CEO and annually prepared the budget and managed within. But even more relevant, I was the chief of staff for John Hickenlooper. I not only had to help build that budget each year, but I did it in 2009 in response to the Great Recession, which meant we really had to work with our teams to figure out where we'd make significant cuts to be able to balance that budget and present a budget to the council.
Next up is Aurelio Martinez. Describe any interactions you have had with registered neighborhood organizations in the past.
Well, I ran the Curtis Park Block Council when it was called Curtis Park Block Council back in the 80s, so I'm very familiar with neighborhood organizations, and that's one of my strong priority features is to give control back to the neighborhoods so that they control the destiny. Blueprint Denver had it intact to where any development, any zone change, anything that happens within a neighborhood that affected a neighborhood would have to adhere to the neighborhood plan. Okay, that's been completely ignored, and I can tell you by experience that it's been completely ignored. So we have to give control back to the neighborhoods so that they have a say in what happens in their neighborhoods so they can control their own destinies in their neighborhood. It's about us. It's not about me. It's about us. Thank you.
Now we move to round 4. We have more questions for these candidates seeking to be your next mayor, and they are taken from the candidates' campaign websites or campaign information. Let's begin with Al Gardner. You're up first. Here is a quote from your website. I will work with the business community to continue to modernize and support growth, as well as find ways to incentivize organizations to hire locally. How, as mayor, could you incentivize organizations to hire locally?
I think the first thing is really tapping into the brilliance that are in these organizations. I think all too often we tend to go to the larger organizations and try to find those brain trusts there, but really don't put in the time and effort to reach out to small businesses, reach out to those folks who are trying to start small businesses. So as part of my administration, one thing I would have a liaison that really invested time in building these relationships, and that's how I intend to do that as mayor. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Renata Behrens, the next question is for you. Renata, you do not have a website, but from an article in the Denverite, you stated that to, quote, to help improve air quality, Behrens wants free public transportation for everyone. As mayor, how would you pay for making public transportation free?
Yes, free transportation. It has to be improved and to be very reliable so that every commuter can leave their car at home and keep several hundreds of dollars in their pocket. I don't have any idea now how to finance it, but there are committees who know about that. And I, as a mayor, would work with everybody who is an expert to solve this problem. And I would turn the empty parking spaces of your computers into gardens or little parks. And I would like to encourage the homeowners to get rid of their lawn that's only for dogs and install a little productive garden or original Colorado vegetation.
Thank you. Next up is Ian Tafoya. And Ian, here is a quote from your website and a question. The climate crisis, a lack of attainable housing, and a need for improved public health and safety indicate it's hard to find solutions. Our administration will focus on regional cooperation. Your question. As mayor, how would you work more with other governments in the region to bring solutions to these issues?
Oh, wow, I love this question. We've been doing this work already, and I think we can point to some examples. I started out my opening statement about taking on more than 189 violators of federal environmental law from the location we're sitting in right now. It takes people working together as Adams County commissioners, city council members from Denver, the mayor of Denver and the climate office, and, city council members from Commerce City. We have perfect examples of us taking it on. The example I was using in the beginning was we upgraded protections on the Platte River, the first ever people-driven rulemaking to succeed at the Water Quality Control Commission. It's a perfect example of us working together. Or fighting for regional transportation district where we got money to get fare free transit in August. We passed 9 environmental justice laws last year, bringing people together throughout the region. Thank you.
The next question is for Leslie Harrod. Here is a quote from your website. Leslie isn't afraid of tough challenges and will take a comprehensive approach to revamping our city's transportation system so people can move around easily and safely. As mayor, what is your approach to revamping the city's transportation system, and how would you pay for it?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for this question. As someone who lives in Denver, has asthma, and works in Denver, sometimes it is very hard to get around. In fact, on our heaviest pollution days, it's nearly impossible for me to go out and walk even 1 or 2 blocks. My doctor has said that it's akin to smoking 1 to 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Pollution in this city has gotten out of control. We all know about the brown cloud. What we have to do is make sure that we have a public transportation that works for everyone. I was talking to the director of RTD recently, the Regional Transportation District. She reminds me that RTD is just that. It's the Regional Transportation District. Its goal is to connect regions, not neighborhoods or communities. We've got to change that. I will look to what the amazing people out in Montbello did themselves, which is create the Connector program. Similar to my alma mater at CU, we had the hop, skip, and jump that took you where you needed to go in Boulder. The folks out in Montbello created the Neighborhood Connector to take people on demand where they needed to go. We need to have a connector in every neighborhood across Denver.
Matt Brady, the next question is for you. Since you don't have a website, where can people go to find out information about you and your goals for Denver as mayor?
I'm working on a website, but they can always email me at denverbrady@aol.com, and I will respond. And I was going to say, I'm a member of the Denver 150 honorees list, as I mentioned, when we had the 150th anniversary for Denver. There's only one other candidate here who made that list, and that is Terrence Roberts. And anyway, we need to improve our infrastructure, transportation. By the way, I recommend we switch to a city manager form of government. The mayor will be on city council, but still the CEO, and so that the mayor can address problems, and the city manager will take care of the day-to-day affairs.
Thank you. All right, and it is time for another lightning round. I feel like you all like this one. You like this round? All right. And remember, you can raise your hand for yes, no, or pass. So we'll jump right in here. Should Denver expand its use of photo red light enforcement? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up if you're passing on this one. Okay. Do you believe that undocumented workers contribute positively to Denver's economy? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. Would you support a charter amendment to eliminate the Denver Civil Service Commission to save tax dollars by placing public safety under the Career Service Authority like other city workers? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass.
Can you say pass is unsure?
I need to study.
Okay, that was a big one. It's okay. Okay, this is a two-parter, I'm told. All right, so I'll just break it up on my own here. Do you own a dog? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. No pass. All right, here is the second part of this one. Does the city need more off-leash dog parks? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. Okay. Last one for this lightning round. Do you think that the state has a responsibility to provide funding for homelessness issues? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. All right, thank you. Now we are moving on to round 6. And these are more questions for these candidates seeking your vote to be the next mayor of Denver. And they are taken from the candidates' websites or campaign information. And we continue our random selection with Kwame Spearman. And here is a
I have
quote.
a very good website, so this is going to be.
Okay, well, we've got a quote for you. You will rebuild our community by using sales tax dollars to emulate the federal government's Employee Retention Credit Program, which gave tax dollars back to businesses that kept their employees on payroll during the pandemic. Who would be eligible for these credits, and as mayor, how would you pay for them?
So the thought process here is that during the pandemic, businesses who kept their employees with their business actually received tax credits from the federal government. So what that meant is even though they were paying their employees, let's say $16, $17, $18 an hour, their net effective pay was lower. So they're able to pay their employees and it costs less for them to do this. I think we need to do this in Denver. Our local economy is struggling right now. And at the same time, the people who work for the local economy can't live in Denver. So the proposal is let's continue to increase our minimum wage, and then let's also give a resource for our small business owners to where they don't have to actually pay for that increase in minimum wage. We can do that by having some form of tax credit, or excuse me, by having some form of sales tax that allows for funding for it. What this does is it allows for our workers to have an opportunity to live in the city and for our local businesses to thrive. Thank you.
Andy Rougeau, the next question is for you. A quote from your website reads, "Home prices are too high. House prices are 70% higher than 2015, and rent has increased 37%, pricing first-time buyers out of the market. How do you think, as mayor, you could have an influence on the price of homes and rent in Denver?"
So housing is not affordable for blue-collar workers, young families, first-time home buyers in our city. I talked to a young woman, a waitress, who's commuting from 45 minutes out of town every day. Meant she couldn't drop her kids off at school. Meant she was spending an hour and a half in commute. That's unacceptable. As mayor, I will fix a broken permitting department. As mayor, I will make sure that we don't have a government that's getting in the way, because right now regulations, including regulations on the heights of ADUs, regulations on parking minimums, are increasing the cost of that blue-collar housing. I'm going to get money out of the zoning process. I will fight for our future as mayor by making sure blue-collar workers, young families, first-time home buyers are able to live in our city, because I want my 2 girls one day to live in a city, just not right next door, maybe a couple blocks down. Thank you.
And we'll move now to Thomas Wolf. And here is a quote from your website. We will enroll these individuals, the homeless, in our municipal health insurance. This will allow us to redirect current spending to subsidize or provide health insurance for other deserving groups, NGOs, daycare workers, our creative class, and others without the means to access affordable health insurance. What is the current spending that you as mayor would need to redirect to cover these additional people? And how would that affect the current programs it funds?
Yeah, it's a great question. We were just at, some of us just had a meeting with Donna Lynn, who runs Denver Health. We currently, out of our benevolence with no requirement, journal over about $30 million to Denver Health each year. In my financial analytical, you need to understand how to calculate insurance, which is expected loss. If you gave me $30 million in an expected loss, I can cover a hell of a lot more lives than we're currently sending there that get their health care retail through the emergency room. So the existing $30 million, I could probably cover half of that existing liability, and the other part I can use for Montessori teachers, artists, and other folks with good Denver Health insurance coverage.
Debbie Ortega, this next question is for you. Here is a quote from your website. For decades, Debbie has fought to expand Denver's park systems, especially for long-ignored neighborhoods. What is the current status in your decades-old fight to expand Denver's park systems?
So this goes back to when we had the Hensel Park land swap that was in southeast Denver, where the city had taken an offer from Denver Public Schools to swap out a downtown building for a park that had been within the city coffers since 1955. So one of the things that I opposed that, first of all, and I asked our Parks Department how many other undedicated parks we had. That's what allowed them to sell that off or swap that out. We since identified all those other parks, brought them forward, had them dedicated. And by them being dedicated, it means you can't just put them, you can't sell them without them having to go to a vote of the people. And by the way, Park Hill Golf Course is not city-owned. It's going to a vote of the people because of the conservation easement.
Mike Johnston, you are up next. A quote from your website. Establish a 10-day waiting period to purchase guns. The evidence is clear. Waiting periods save lives. This is why in my first year as mayor, I will work with City Council to enact a 10-day waiting period for the purchase of any firearm in Denver. Here's your question. Is this a law that you as mayor and City Council could make to implement this major change in Denver's gun laws, or does it need a vote of the citizens?
Thank you. This is a law that City Council can change. After legislative change, now cities have the authority to be able to adopt their own gun restrictions and ways to keep their communities safe. I think we only have to look as far as the tragedy of yesterday, which is Luis Garcia, who was the East High School student dying from the injuries he sustained in a shooting outside of his high school, to know that gun safety is a major crisis in the city. We know the state has taken great steps. I was proud to help work on the legislation to create universal background checks for all gun sales, to also ban high-capacity magazines. Great work was done by folks on this stage to enact red flag laws in Colorado. We have to enforce those more aggressively, particularly keeping guns out of the hands of people that are domestic abusers, where we know there's still the greatest risk for female partners of gun deaths. So I think we can do this, and we should be a national leader on gun safety here in Denver.
Another question in this round, and this one is for Chris Hansen. From your website, Chris. Chris will use his systems engineering background to transition Denver to a 100% clean energy city. Give examples of what you as mayor will do to make Denver a 100% clean energy city, and by what date will this be accomplished?
Yeah, thank you. This is something I'm deeply committed to, and something that I've worked very hard at the state level on making Colorado a climate leader around the nation, and I want to bring that expertise to Denver. We have a goal in Denver to be carbon neutral, carbon free by 2040, and that's exactly what we'll do if you elect me mayor. A big piece of this is we have hard work ahead on electrifying all the different parts of our lives. That means transportation. That means the buses. That means the school buses. That means the buildings that we live and work in, moving them over to heat pump technology and moving away from the direct combustion of fossil fuels. That's how we rapidly reduce the amount of emissions in the city and meet our goals. And I want to emphasize, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do this. We have to do it now because we have great incentives from the federal and the state level to get this job done. And as your mayor, I know I can deliver.
Terrence Roberts, another question for you. From your website, drastically reduce the appointments of the mayor to limit conflicts of interest and self-dealing. Your question. If the mayor does not appoint people to specific agencies and offices, who would and why?
Well, yes, I am platforming on adding more democracy to the city of Denver. We don't need any more three-term mayors. The science of three-term mayors are you will be embarrassed if you are not reelected. Well, look what just happened to Lori Lightfoot in Chicago. It's been 40 years since somebody who wasn't incumbent was defeated. Same in Denver, Colorado. Our mayoral system is too strong. We need an elected police official, sheriff. We need an elected fire chief. We need an elected city attorney. We need to let city council and RNOs make more decision-making processes on major development projects in their communities. We need to add more democracy to the city of Denver. 2 terms in our city charter for the mayor with a $1.5 billion general fund is plenty of power to get things done in 8 years.
Now we move to round 7. We'll have one more round of submitted questions for the forum organizers for our candidates who want the job of being mayor of Denver. And we continue our random selection with Kelly Bruff. Another question for you. How do you plan to address racial and economic disparities in Denver?
Yeah, I really appreciate this question. I'll identify 3 different areas of my focus. One, I'd start with our educational system. Today, less than 1 in 4 of our kids of color are reading at 3rd grade level. That's the #1 predictor of graduation for our kids. So I would focus on making sure we have a governing body that does nothing but address those inequities and deliver the education our kids deserve. But I would go further there. I would create internships that are paid and apprenticeships so we could hire kids out of Denver Public Schools to work in the jobs we need in the city and county of Denver to change the trajectory of their life and provide the career opportunities and college access for them. Another area, oh my gosh, I'm out of time.
You are out of time. Thank you. Our next question is for Lisa Calderon. Many Denverites say they no longer go downtown because it is dirty, people live on the street, there are no department stores, and it feels unsafe. Do you agree with these statements? And if yes, how would you change what is happening in downtown Denver?
Well, personally, I don't feel unsafe. I'm downtown quite a lot. I grew up in Denver. I'm 4th generation. One of my first jobs was downtown, and I want that to continue. The narrative has been that it is unhoused people that have been making our downtown safe. And we have to stop scapegoating poor people. We need to also rethink downtowns. It's happening across the nation. It shouldn't just be a place that we focus on tourism and corporate businesses. We need to invest in small businesses, but we also need to make it more of a neighborhood where people want to live, work, and play. And so I would do that as mayor. So, and I also support Larimer Square not being taken over by multinational corporations.
We move now to Jesse LaShawn Paris. What is your plan to improve public safety in Denver?
Improve public safety. Great question. Yeah, so we can start by actually getting to the root of what policing is in this country. It's been based off of slavery, based off of slave catchers. The culture of the police has to change. If we're going to improve anything about public safety, we have to start there. Also, we can hire officers that have actually been trained in mental health, and they have been, what is it called? Oh man, what is that testing? It's a certain kind of testing that they do to make sure that they're not biased or implicitly biased or racist, because the police are targeting people that look like me, black people. That has to change in the city. And under a Paris administration, that would definitely change. And I would like to reallocate a lot of those funds that we're spending on public safety to STAR and programs such as. Thank you.
Our next question from our organizers is for Renata Behrens. As mayor, how would you improve multimodal transportation systems in Denver while addressing climate goals and equity?
Can you please repeat?
As mayor, how would you improve multimodal transportation systems in Denver while also addressing climate goals and equity?
Yes, thank you. I would electrify those transportation vehicles, of course, but I would talk to the people who use them first, the commuters and all the other people who want to go downtown. And according to their wishes and needs, the schedule will be made so that everybody can go there and doesn't have to take their own vehicles. What else?
If that's your answer, that's okay.
And it should be free, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Matt Brady, here's your next question. What is your plan to address affordable housing in Denver?
I would work with HUD. I've worked on that issue. That is one of the reasons I'm on the Denver 150 honorees list. The work I've done in affordable housing, I've gotten awards for my work, but I would look at some of the, not only this vacant public land, but there's a lot of vacant private lots around town investors are sitting on that aren't doing anything. I would tell them to do something, have a plan for them, or we want to buy them and we're going to put our housing on those vacant lands. Thank you.
We move again to Ian Tafoya. We have a question for you. What is your vision for the city's future and how do you plan to achieve it?
Oh, thank you so much. I dream of clear blue skies and water that quenches the thirst of environmental justice. We have so much work to do to make sure that our communities are affordable, safe. We're talking so much about public safety. There are people in our communities it's not safe to breathe the air. There are people in our communities it's not safe for them to cross the street to catch a bus. There are people in our communities it's not safe to drink their water. I want to see us make meaningful progress on public transportation to Red Rocks and the mountain parks. I appreciate the conversation earlier about the Montbello connector. The GES connector won in the I-70 settlement that I was essentially part of. I also forgot to mention I've been endorsed by council members and school board members from Commerce City for our fights. It's so important for us to realize that no mayor is going to solve all the problems. But I want to be a good ancestor. I want to look back and say we made meaningful progress in the time that we had for climate action. Thank you.
And our last question for this round is for Aurelio Martinez. How do you plan to interact with registered neighborhood organizations if you are elected?
That's an easy one, because I mentioned before that my whole priority is to give control to the neighborhoods. And this fits right into my situation, my answers to that. I will open up an office of ombudsman and liaison, because the way it's working now by putting community people in the administration isn't working. We open up an office of ombudsman and liaison, and they have to answer to the community, to the residents of the people, and they have to answer with resolution. It works in other cities, and it will work in this city. That's how we are going to bring the neighborhood people and the residents of Denver and the people that work in this city to be part of the administration. It starts with the administration.
And we move now to round 8. Okay, candidates, I want you to breathe in. Everybody breathe in. This is participation points here. Breathe out. Move your shoulders a little bit. There we go. We've been sitting for a while. This is our last lightning round. Are you excited? All right. I can tell. Remember, I will ask you for your hands up for yes, no, and pass. Is affordable housing your first priority? Hands up for yes.
Public housing.
Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. Get them high up there. Are you bilingual and do you speak Spanish? Well, we'll break that up. Are you bilingual? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. Okay. Do you speak Spanish? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. Okay.
How about just a little bit?
No, it's not an option. I'm sorry. Have you attended a city council meeting in person in the last 6 months? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. Have you installed any sort of alternative source of energy for your home, like solar panels or a windmill? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass.
This is biased against renters.
We hear you on that. I think our forum organizers hear you as well. Okay. Was the salary and benefit package that comes with the job of a city council member a factor in your deciding to run for office? Oh, I apologize there. I'll read that again. How about that? Was the salary and benefit package that comes with the job of mayor a factor in your deciding to run for office? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. Would you support amending the city charter to establish a maximum of 2 terms for both the mayor and city council members instead of 3 terms? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. Have you spent any time on a one-on-one basis with someone experiencing homelessness? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. Hands up for pass. Oh, here's a good one. Have you heard a great idea from one of your opponents during this campaign? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. And he passes. Oh, we're going to keep with this trend here. Is there anyone on this stage tonight that, if elected, you would consider as an appointee? Hands up for yes. Any no's? Any passes? All right.
Thanks, Andy.
We move now to round 9, and that brings us to the last round of our questions submitted by the forum organizers for our candidates who want the job of being mayor of Denver. First up from our random selection is Leslie Herod. How will you address the homeless crisis in Denver?
Yeah. Well, thank you for this question. We know that the homelessness crisis is one that is up on top of mind for so many Denver voters. Number one, we have to make sure that the people who are living on our streets today are housed. We know that 80 to 90% of people who are living on the streets of Denver, be it in camps or in their cars, want to be in houses. We can do that. We could build houses in Denver for those who need it, and we can do it on blighted public land that we already own. In fact, we can build housing for the people who need it right here in Denver, and we can do it quickly. We can build both temporary homes and long-term social housing and permanent housing for those who need it. That's the #1 way in addressing our unhoused population and homelessness today.
Another question, and this one is for Robert Treda. Do you support the recommendations of Denver's 2020 Climate Action Task Force? And how will you fund the hundreds of millions of dollars it calls to raise?
Well, I talk a lot about homeless and affordable living, but really the environment is key for me. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I'm the lead by example candidate. I practice what I preach, and I do it for myself first, and then try to make change for Denver. I think that's the way it should be done. Yeah, I do support that, and I think the time is running out, and we need to address some of these issues quickly, and I'm prepared to do that. Thank you.
Next question is for Thomas Wolf. What specific things would you do as mayor to move us forward now in achieving the goals in Colorado's greenhouse gas pollution reduction roadmap?
Yeah, so I'm an independent. I'm a non-politician, and in the business world, what you do is you set attainable goals. The other thing you do is under-promise and over-deliver. And I think politicians get caught up with a lot of blue sky and things that they can do versus what's actually possible. I think the biggest thing we can do in our city is hold Suncor accountable. Suncor, to the extent that we have one of the largest EPA offices in the country, and right under their nose we have Suncor, just makes absolutely no sense. The only thing that Suncor is going to answer to are fees to get them in compliance, and you fee them until they're doing things that are uneconomic. So I would definitely put pressure on the feds with regards to that. I think we would have a lot of help from our two senators in D.C. with that, and that could generate a lot of fees for other opportunities of climate issues in the city.
And that brings us to the last question in the last round of questions for our mayoral candidates, and it is for Abbas Yahya Bamba. Is Denver a world-class city?
Yes, Denver should be a world-class city. It is a world-class city. Why?
Why?
Because we are over 50,000 people living here. So a world-class city, the classification starts at 25,000.
Okay.
With all the structure, like the convention center, for example. I'm going to make this city a world-class city. Yes, how that mean? I can do it. I know the people, I have network, I can make that happen. Thank you.
Well, audience, believe it or not, that brings us to the end of our forum, really closing statement. So let's go ahead and give our candidates a round of applause for the job that they did here tonight. All right. As we move to closing statements, each candidate will have 45 seconds for a closing statement, and we will reverse the order of the opening statements, which means we will begin with Jesse LaShawn Paris.
Yes, Denver. Thank you for putting this on. We are at an apex, a climax. As a city, we have a decision to make. You, as the voters, have a decision to make come April 4th, 2023. Who is going to lead us into a new beginning? We have a new mayor that's coming aboard. It's going to be either one of us up here. What I can say is I have lived experience with this. I am a true revolutionary. I was unhoused. I actually did go from a tent to affordable housing, so it is possible. And I'm a student. I was a student at one time. I have a bachelor's degree in criminology and criminal justice. Vote Jesse Parrish, write me in for Denver mayor. We need a new revolutionary beginning as a city. I'm the only black first candidate in this race. Thank you.
That brings us to Matt Brady for his closing statement.
Thank you. We need to move our spring elections to November with ranked choice voting, eliminating the runoff. Bad enough to move from early May to early April. It's a short time after the recent general election, followed by the holiday period. Then our legislature in session from January to May, not to mention King President's Days and Wells Valentine's, St. Patrick's, Lent, and Easter, and our rough winter we've had. Denver voters would be better served if they had all summer and fall to study the candidates and issues. Serving one term is not just my age, but I have other things I want to do during my remaining viable year. Check the bottom blank line and print in MATTBRADY, and your vote will count. Thank you.
And with his closing statement is Abbas Yahya Bamba.
Thank you, everyone. I'm a little bit disappointed because the audience is now full. I pledge tonight, me, Abbas Yahya Bamba, as your mayor, I will make this city a plus city. I have the connection, I have the knowledge, I have intellectual capability to do it. I will first start putting a price cap on rent, price cap on food, reduce the property taxes, and bring investors in this city to make this city a welcome city again. I can do it. You can trust me. I'm counting on you, and you can count on me. Thank you.
Next, a closing statement from Kelly Brough.
You've heard so many good ideas tonight, and the truth is the decision you're making about mayor is really who can implement those ideas, who can bring people together and get this work done. And in my campaign, I've already shown examples of how I'll do just that. It's why my public safety plan has been built and endorsed by a former manager of safety, Al LeCabe, a former district attorney, Bill Ritter, and a former executive of the ACLU, Denise Maes. It's why my homeless plan has been endorsed by 5 sitting mayors in the metropolitan area, recognizing the only way we're going to make progress is if we can come together as a community and a region and address these challenges. I would love to have your support.
Now, Debbie Ortega, your closing statement, please.
I first want to thank you all for being here tonight. So I grew up here, and my years of service to this city have been a labor of love. And that dedication and commitment came from my parents, who instilled that commitment to service in me. And in the work that I have done addressing homelessness as the previous director for the Commission to End Homelessness under John Hickenlooper, to addressing housing needs as the president of Del Norte Neighborhood Development Corporation, housing unhoused people. All we do is affordable housing. I have the experience. I know how this city works. I can hit the ground running. I'm committed to doing that. DebbieOrtega.com is my website, and I'm here to ask for your support.
A closing statement now from Robert Treda.
Well, I love how many experts we have in building right now, running for mayor. Affordable housing, taking care of the homeless problem. I have a real plan, and I drafted it last night, and it's right here. I made 8.5 by 11 copies, and they're out on my table. I will fix this. I will build attached homeless or cubicle construction, 16 by 16, 7,000 in 1 year. I'm not messing around here, guys. We have a crisis, and it's about to get worse. We need to stop talking about it, and we need to figure out a real solution. I will build it. I will oversee the construction myself as my duty of the mayor's office. We cannot waste any more time with this, guys, and I hope you guys make a really good choice here, because you might be stuck with the mayor for 12 years. The city needs a builder to be in the mayor's office, not a politician. We've waited too long, and I've been complaining about it for too long. We need to make it happen. Please take a handout on your way out. Thank you.
Leslie Herod, time for your closing statement.
Thank you. I love this city. I know so many of us do. That's why we live here. Denver is one of the best cities, no, the best city in the nation. But we're going through some really tough times. The people of Denver, we've struggled out of COVID, we've struggled in recovery, and now we know we're dealing with so much in our communities that it sometimes can feel like we're breaking. But I know that Denver can get back on track. I know that together we can tackle our toughest issues. But Denver has a tough choice ahead of us. There are 17 candidates on the ballot and more write-ins, as you can see. There are folks with great ideas who have a great track record of working for the people. But what I ask you to do is to take a look at our history of what we've done, how we've delivered on our promises. I promise as your next mayor, I will deliver bold solutions to common sense problems to help people's everyday lives. I'm Leslie Herod. Check out my website at leslieformayor.com.
That brings us to Andy Rougeau for his closing statement.
We did not talk about the most important issue tonight. We did not talk about rising crime. I'm not surprised because the politicians behind me have ignored it too. I'm different. As mayor, I'll use my experience as an Army officer, small business owner, crack down on crime. My immediate next door neighbors on Christmas Eve had 4 people jump their fence, try to pry open their back door. They had to sit on hold with 911 on that day. It's a memory that'll be stuck with that family the rest of their life. That's unacceptable. That's the fault of the politicians behind me. As mayor, I'll add 400 police officers. I'll increase funding for police training. I'll make sure our 911 system is responsive because Denver deserves a mayor who will actually fight for our future, not one who will make excuses. My name's Andy Rougeau. I want your support in April and your help helping me fight for Denver's future. Thank you.
And now a closing statement from Ian Tafoya.
Again, my name is Ian Thomas Tafoya, a 4th-generation Denverite, a person who's worked for 3 branches of local government, was an educator, worked on dozens of ballot issues, including Waste No More, actually tackling the climate crisis and going out during the pandemic to collect signatures. We didn't just go out during the pandemic to pass laws. I led the Headwaters Protectors to go out and serve the people and pick up the trash and bring critical public health and water services to people. We also brought a regional plan for bringing stability to the unhoused immediately. And when the mayor turned us away, we went to the Regional Council of Governments, and we have made progress working with other cities. My #1 issue is regional cooperation because housing, public health, homelessness, worker rights, and civics education all intersect. I want to thank INC for coming with the most climate questions yet. If we can intersect every single issue with the environment, we have the chance to harness once-in-a-lifetime money to create real change in Denver. I'm Ian Thomas Tafoya. Thank you.
Next, a closing statement from James Walsh.
135 seconds. That's how much time I've had to speak to you tonight. As an outsider without name recognition, that makes it nearly impossible to break through. I'm here because I want to be Denver's first people's mayor. I'm an educator, I'm a professor, and I want to take that to the mayor's office. I've been disturbed at the degree to which fear has driven this campaign. Fear of homelessness, fear of crime, fear of immigrants. A fear-based campaign never ends well. So I want to be a mayor who gets resources directly into the hands of those who need those resources instead of judging them. That means a higher minimum wage that's a living wage. Who can survive on $15 an hour? That means a universal basic income for those at or near or below the poverty line so that they can use those resources. They know how to use those resources. That means higher union density, supporting workers in their organizing. Denver, workers first.
Now, Mike Johnston, your closing statement, please.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. There's no doubt we face some real challenges in Denver. But I believe the spirit of Denver is that we are not the victims of our own story, we're the authors of our own story. So the question is, what chapter do we want to write next about Denver? Do we want another chapter about a city that couldn't house all of us or include all of us or protect all of us? I want to write a very different chapter about a city where you can take your kids out in any neighborhood in the city and sit on a patio and have a drink while your kids can run around and not worry about their safety. A city where you know your kindergarten teacher can raise 2 kids and still afford to live in this city. and a city when we go home at night, every night to our own beds, you actually know that everybody in this city has a place to live. That's the chapter we can write next, and that's why I'd love to be your mayor. My name is Mike Johnston. I'd love your support. Thanks so much.
Chris Hansen, it's time for your closing statement.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be with you tonight. And I wanted to share a brief story that I experienced with my 2 teenage boys a couple of months ago. We decided to head downtown to do some shopping. So we jumped on the 15 bus down Colfax. And I immediately started getting questions from my boys. Dad, was that a drug deal we just saw at the bus stop? Dad, why are there so many encampments in Denver right now? Dad, why doesn't downtown feel safe? And as a father, that's a heartbreaking discussion to have. Denver, we have to do better. All of our plans across all these departments tonight will not work if we don't rebuild public safety. And I'm so proud to be endorsed by the sheriffs and their union, the Teamsters, in this race, because I know how to rebuild public safety and to reestablish that department so that we can succeed as a city. And that's why I'm asking for your support to be Denver's next mayor.
Now a closing statement from Renata Behrens.
I want to be your mayor because I need this job. My country didn't help me when I needed help regarding human trafficking, domestic violence, and homelessness. So I decided I would like to serve my country as Denver mayor because my country didn't do anything for me. I would like to make Denver as a magnet, a lovable, likable city that draws all the visitors here to enjoy this beautiful city. And I would talk to the Plata River to have a river walk like in San Antonio. Thank you.
That brings us to Kwame Spearman. Maybe you should just move over one.
I have so many jokes that I can try to move over.
Yeah, let's use this one.
I absolutely love this place. It made me who I was, or who I am. But about a year ago, as a small business owner, I started seeing things that we now acknowledge to be true. That we would be #1 in auto theft, #2 in property theft, and there are thousands of people sleeping on our streets every night. And I did something that I would encourage everyone to do. I closed my eyes, and I imagined, what if Denver didn't have to be that way? What if we had a diverse, vibrant city where our teachers, our nurses, our police officers, our firefighters, where they could live in Denver and prosper in Denver? And then I thought, what would have to happen for that to be true? We need a new, fresh vision, a new perspective of looking at things. And I challenge you, Denver, to think if the people who are on the stage, who have been a part of this, are the right solution for that. The right solution is to go directly to our neighborhoods, to go to you, to understand what you need, and to deliver on those goals.
Thank you.
Check out my website, kwameforddenver.com. Thank you.
And with his closing statement, Terrence Roberts. Just hold it, I think. Okay.
Works just fine. So vote for me because I can fix a microphone. Let me start with my closing statement. This is the most important election in Denver's history, especially for communities like the Five Points, Globeville, Leary, Swansea, Northeast Park Hill. Certain communities are failing in the city of Denver. Why? Because of a cycle of poverty that is truly showing its face in the city, with 88 homicides last year, 96 homicides in 2021, and 95 homicides in 2022. We had a decrease in homicides last year because we had an increase in the rural. Why? Because that is where a lot of our African-American youth and our poor population is being pushed. Let's put a mayor in office that is going to address our cycle of poverty with our public safety budget. Last year, only 2% of $566 million, 39% of our public safety of our general fund went to housing. That's our biggest issue. Vote for a mayor that is going to present a public safety budget to city council that is going to save our unhoused neighbors and our youth. Thank you very much. TerrenceRobertsForMayor.com.
Next, a closing statement from Al Gardner.
Thank you. I'm reminded of a speech I heard recently, and the name of that speech was called The Challenge of the Difficult. We're challenged with difficulty in the city, but it's not a time to run from it. It's not a time to move away from it, but it's time to lean into it. One thing, again, that one of my heroes said, and that was Shirley Chisholm, and she said, she was unbought and unbossed. I'm neither of those, which gives me the opportunity to be able to look at issues from a fresh set of eyes, to be able to reach out to those in the community that provide the help and can provide the resources. On April 4th, remember, your vote is one of the most coveted things in the United States of America. Al Gardner for Mayor.com. Thank you.
Now, Thomas Wolf, your closing statement, please.
So I think there's a lot of, we could get to consensus up here that we would like our city to be clean, safe, and smart. I mean, that's just a basic. Your city is delivering so below that baseline, it is tragic. When you're looking at people who can all say that, it's a matter of who can deliver on that, who has the work experience, the academic experience, and has just a vision for the city. To the extent that we're in this situation, and we've been here for the last 3 years, and a lot of those people that have delivered that are behind me, and they're asking for your vote, I just have a hard time understanding why anybody would want to continue in that direction. I'm offering an independent, obviously numbers-driven, to have the better answer, approach this. I'd appreciate your vote. Thomas Wolf, thank you.
Aurelio Martinez, your closing statement, please.
First of all, thank you. Today you heard from a lot of polished politicians, a lot of professional politicians that will tell you what they want you to hear, what they think you want them to say, not from the heart. I'm talking about from the heart. And it's to fix this city, the city and county of Denver is broken. Now, how someone can use their past experiences within administrations that failed, the city's broken. They were part of the problem. We need new blood in there. We need someone that can change the city. We need someone that can go in there and make changes. And it starts with the administration. The administration can't be set up, and the cabinet members cannot be set up with your friends or someone you know or someone that you owe favors to. We can't have that. We need to put the best people in the cabinet, in the administration, that know how to administer the position that they're in. That's what I'm going to bring to the city and county of Denver. Aurelio Martinez for DenverMayor.com.
Trinidad Rodriguez would have been next, as his name is next on the ballot, but he was diagnosed with COVID yesterday and wasn't able to attend this forum. We all wish him well, and I will now read his closing statement. This is a critical election for Denver. I'm thinking about the Denver we're going to leave our kids. My wife and I chose to raise our daughter here because we loved growing up here, and I want her to stay here if she chooses. I've been fighting for Denver with my finance and city building expertise for 25 years. It's time to declare an emergency on homelessness, restore our police ranks, and make our city more affordable to live in. I'm running to build a city where every Denverite, regardless of their neighborhood, can achieve their version of success. Learn more at trinidadfordenver.com. I respectfully ask for your vote. Now, a closing statement from Lisa Calderon.
Denverites, this is a historic election, not just because we have the opportunity to elect the first woman and the first woman of color as mayor of Denver, but more importantly, we have the opportunity to elect a community leader with deep experience. I've lived all across the city. I'm a North Sider, a West Sider, an East Sider, and I've lived in Montbello. And I've organized with communities that have been divested, that have been overlooked, that have been pushed out, that have been gentrified. And we have solutions so that everyone has an opportunity in Denver. I'm going to be your mayor around solutions, evidence-based practices. As a college professor, we're going to bring intellect and evidence into the mayor's office. So please vote for me, Lisa Calderon, lisafordenver.com. Thank you.
Please note that candidates Abbas Yahya Bamba and Matt Brady and Jesse LaShawn Paris's names will not appear on the printed ballot you receive. Even though they did not qualify with signatures, they have decided to pursue the office of Mayor of Denver, and our partners have decided that they should be included in this forum. So they are running as write-in candidates. If you want to vote for one of these candidates, you will need to write their name in the space provided on your ballot. Now, audience, I'm going to turn to you one more time. Let's show our appreciation for all of the candidates who participated tonight. I'd like to thank everyone for being here. We're coming to you today from the Hydro Confluence Theater at the CSU Spur. Again, we'd like to thank the management and staff here for hosting this event. The CSU Spur is a new Denver destination with something for every learner. It's free and open to the public year-round, so come visit. Our thanks also to the Denver Decides partners, which include Inter-Neighborhood Cooperation and the League of Women Voters of Denver. Denver Decides is presented by Denver 8 TV. We hope we've given you a fair look at each candidate vying to represent you, the residents of Denver, as your next mayor. Remember, Denver's municipal election takes place on an earlier date than ever before. Tuesday, April 4th is Election Day. Be sure you are registered and be sure to make your voice heard. Vote. For complete election information online, go to denverdecides.com or denver7.com/denverdecides. Stay with us for more Denver Decides candidate forums coming up shortly. I'm Micah Smith from Denver 7, and thank you for joining us.